Coach, the first weekend of the season upcoming against Miami, Ohio, here in Big Rapids. First, talk about your expectations for the season, and then just the excitement that comes with being back on the ice.
Well, the expectations are high, and I feel like it's been forever since our last games in March. And obviously, guys have done an unbelievable job from the month of April on in terms of preparing ourselves for this year. We finished on a strong note last year, winning the first year our playoff series against Bowling Green, getting to the Final Four in our conference playoffs. And those are things that I think gave us momentum heading into the off season, and the guys have not disappointed. They've worked exceedingly hard. We're at the point now we're ready to play. It's time to play, and we look forward to playing against Miami of Ohio this weekend. The Red Hawks are a very good team. Coach Bergeron's done an outstanding job with them. I can tell you they'll be super aggressive, and this is going to be a great way to kick the year off and help prepare us for our conference play that is going to take place later in the month.
Coach, you just mentioned Miami, Ohio is very good. What's it going to take this weekend from the team to pull out 2 wins against them?
Well, they're a really aggressive team. They're aggressive on the forecheck, aggressive on the penalty kill. The pace of the game is going to be really high, particularly the start of the first game. Both teams are coming off a long summer. Everybody's excited. Everybody wants to get going. My feeling over the years is that first period there's tons of mistakes on both ends. Both teams by being overzealous, but then the game will settle into a real game on come the second period. I think for us to be successful, I'm not sure which netminder is going to start yet. We've got 2 great options in Logan Stein and Noah Giesbrecht. But regardless of who's in net, they're going to have to play well. And then I think, we made some really good strides a year ago and reduced the number of penalties we take. And I'd like to see us continue that trend and continue to improve in that area.
And Coach, could you just talk a little bit about your team with your goalies back? It seems like the defense is going to be the goaltending. The defense is going to be the backbone of this team, and it's going to have to play a lot of Friday night hockey, just like last year, right?
Yeah, I do. I think the goaltending is going to be a strength of our team. We've got 2 goalies that we've got a lot of confidence in. We have 2 goalies that a lot of teams would envy to have one of those 2 in net, and we're just fortunate enough to have 2. So obviously there'll be a strength, and it's been a really healthy competition for playing time between the 2. The 2 are very good friends. There's only time in net for one at a time. You can't play 2 at once, and so they're battling hard. And I think it's brought out the best in both of them. And I think they look down at the other end of the rink during practice, and they're watching the other guy make some really good saves, and they have to step up their game and make good saves too. So the competition has really proven to be beneficial for both, and they will be the backbone of our team. Our D core is pretty strong. While we don't have a ton of numbers there, we're actually a little thin starting off the year. I like what I've seen. We've got a good mix of veterans and first-year players playing, and from what I've seen so far, I think there's an improvement upon the last couple of years back there. Now that needs to be borne out in the game. And then up front, I like our depth. I like our depth a lot. We've got a returning top line of Pokorny centering Venuto on the left side and Branshaw on the right. And while that line will probably play together a lot this year, it doesn't mean they'll play together all the time. Sometimes we may split them up to spread the wealth a little bit. And then we've had some emerging players that I thought played well a year ago that have really looked good in camp so far. Tyler Schleppe, from an offensive standpoint, looks really good. He's scoring. He looks strong. There's parts of his game that need to improve yet, like with any second-year player, but he's got the gift of scoring. Connor McGrath has looked really good. And Caden Galt. So, these players coming back from a year ago, I think will start adding even more offense. While Schleppe and I thought McGrath, I think between the 2 of them, they're, we're returning 15 goals in that class along with Galt. It's nice to see us have a balance in scoring. And I feel like we're 5 lines deep. We probably have, a top 9 right now, but we have a 4th and 5th line of guys that need to play, and we've got some freshmen that have kind of opened our eyes to, that look good out there. So it's going to be a good team. We've got a good balance of players, and we look forward to building off of our successes at the end of last year.
And just touching up on what you were just talking about right now, having your top line back and a number of experienced guys, seems like you guys could also have a scoring punch this year as well. And can you just also talk about maybe this team compared to recent years? Seems like it's a little bit deeper, as you say.
I think it is. I think the depth of the team is really good, and I think the scoring will be spread out. I think there's guys who can continue to improve on their numbers. I look at the potential of them, and we got to continue to explore ways to score goals. And whether it comes 5-on-5 off of line rushes, face-offs, end zone offense, it's got to kind of be all of the above. Turnover, transition type goals. And I'd like to see our power play numbers. I thought last year we had a zone entry rate of roughly 70% success on our zone entries, which is a really high number. Now we've got to convert that, our end zone offense into goals. I thought at times a year ago we were reluctant to shoot the puck when we had opportunities. And if we can shoot more, I think that power play percentage, the overall scoring will go up. So there's areas that we think we can improve upon from a year ago that hopefully will lead to even greater success.
And then can you just speak to the experience on this team? Like you said, a lot of returners, but also a couple freshmen, and also transferring in some players with experience. Kind of just how does all that experience kind of help you?
Well, the experience we have, it's good to have experience and players coming back. Sometimes, though, they're not players that have played previously in big moments, critical moments. Well, the group that we've got coming back, it has played in big moments. They've seen critical minutes, important minutes, and by those minutes I'm talking about last minute of a game, whether we're up a goal, down a goal, defending a lead. These guys have seen it, they've been through it, and that's important. They've been in big playoff games now and seen critical minutes there. So it's not just the fact that we're returning a good number of players. It's players that have really contributed a lot in the past. And for us, the one hope is that we still see improvement and growth in their games, because while they're good, they need to be better if we're going to pursue a conference title. And then it's good too to see the nice mix of younger kids coming in. I've been really impressed with a couple defensemen, Jack Messick and Trevor Tulane. They've looked really good. And then we have a transfer student from Holy Cross. He's a grad transfer, and Holy Cross doesn't have graduate programs. So these kids that got the extra COVID year, like Matt Slick a year ago from Holy Cross, are looking for a school that has a strong master's program, and we do. And so we welcome Nick Hale to the group. And Nick, it's interesting, they both came from Holy Cross, where Matt Slick was a big, strong defensive defenseman who could play a lot of minutes. Nick Hale can play a lot of minutes, but his game is totally different. He's a good skater. He can help create offense. He should be good on the power play. So we're bringing in a different type of player this year. But it is, as the case may have it, that's a area that we needed, someone offensive from the blue line that I think can help generate goals in the power play. So he's a welcome addition to the team. Obviously, it'll take him a while to get used to what we do and how we do things on the ice, but he's fit in nicely. As a matter of fact, he has been named one of our assistant captains, which is a mouthful, but he's very mature. He brings a wealth of experience himself, and we're excited to have him.
And then, so the CCHA preseason rankings came out, and I saw that you kind of don't feel like that's fair to your team. What are your expectations for this group going into the season?
Well, with the coaches poll or media poll, those are, I wouldn't call them unfair. I think they're fair. They're based on last year, though. They're based on, it's more of an indication of maybe a year before. And we did lose some pretty good players. I think people note that, but maybe not note the fact that we returned the bulk of our scoring. I don't put a lot of stock in it. I know how much effort I put into those preseason polls. About 15 seconds, I get it, and I pretty much mirror the year before because you're just not going to put a lot of time into it. You're just going to get it off your desk and move on to something that actually helps your team. I can say too, in past years, I think the 02-03 team was slated in the CCHA. I think there was 10 members back then. We were picked for 9th and then won the league title with Chris Kunitz. So they are what they are. No different than the national polls. It's more a reflection on how teams did a year ago, and rightfully so. Not everyone understands who you have coming in, or nor has the time to research it. But our hopes are much higher than 7th in our league. I think we're a top 4 team. I think we should be competing right to the end for a top 4 spot. And I don't even want to put a ceiling on it. We'll just start with trying to win games early, and then maybe set some goals after that. But our sights are set much higher than where we were picked.
When it comes to starting up a season, there's so much unknown to it. You won't really be able to properly gauge a team until they get out on the ice or playing against another team. However, for the past 2 years, you've opened your season against Miami, Ohio, to varying degrees. How comfortable with that experience of opening seasons against that team do you feel? Does it change anything?
I think. Good question. It's kind of nice that we know Miami University pretty well, given the fact that we do open every year with them, and I've coached against Chris Bergeron, the head coach at Miami, now for maybe 20 years. I know how he likes his teams to play. They're hard-nosed, they're aggressive, and so we know exactly what we're getting into. Now, why our younger kids don't quite understand what it's going to be like, they will after the first period. It's going to be high-paced, frantic, and I think a lot of times when young kids come into conference play or college hockey, that is, the speed is what throws them. It's much faster paced than in junior hockey. Well, it's an eye opener in practice for them, and then it's probably really hard for them to understand, but it ramps up considerably come the games. And so they'll be an eye opener, but a lot of them will start to fit right in by the second period, and after a few games they're kind of used to the pace. Our second opponent, Western Michigan, is another team that we play every year, and between that combination of playing Miami then Western Michigan, I think has really proven to get our team ready when we get into conference play.
Coach, thanks for the time and good luck this weekend.
Great, thank you.